Sup gang of post-apocalyptic land, it's your narrator to the end of the world, Warwick T. Eagle. And I'm going to scratch build a oil refinery. There's lots of pill bottles, as you can see. I've got my skewers too, because I have to make a fence. I've got my sandpaper. I'll put that down, and that can be like roading and stuff. I've got this netting too, but I'm going to spray that silver. That's for the fence. And this is styrene. This stuff is great. Going to make tubes and shit out of the sprues. And use this styrene too. It always does come in handy. See it? Nice thin stuff. Alright, I'll show you what's going on in the comments. This is chapter 8. Chapter 7 is still in the mail, so I'm still waiting on that. So what I'm going to do, I've got inspired by putting in the comments of this. I won't be 100% accurate. I'll probably be like 65. That's okay. That's how I wanted it. Okay, right. Okay, guys. See you soon. Okay, first things first. I'm going to cut those off. Make some tanks with them like this one. Make some pipes as well. Make a chimney. Pieces around. What else do I need? I'll just make it up as I go along. And we continue. That one there is going to be the main container for petrol. It's going to have a hose under it. It's going to be stood up a bit. And yeah, hose, that's where you get the gas for the cars. That's part of the refinery. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be standing up. This one will fall over, I bet you. Oh no, it's not too bad. Oh, hang on. Can't see that one. But yeah, that's the tallest one anyway. There's another one which should be around like that size around it too. I'm still going to put supports around the braces, just braces around them. This fine stuff. You can, it just makes it look more realistic. Around like that. This is the brace. Cut it off. Do a whole lot down there. These are going to be ladders. I've got a whole lot more of these, but it's going to be a hell of a lot of pipes. Looks pretty cool. Alright, thanks fam. I'll be back to it. I forgot to add oil barrels. That'll be easy. Oh, that's an easy to do thing. Okay, I'll come back with more. See you soon. Well, peeps, getting there. The oil refinery. Still got a lot to do. That's chapter 6. Oh, sorry, we're up to 7. That's chapter 8, and this girl here should be chapter 9. Got something special for you. But yeah, we're going to make a structure and a fence and ladders and pipes. Still a bit to go, but the fun part's always for me is painting. So yeah, it should be ready to be painted pretty soonish. Thank you. Okay, I've done a bit more work since the last time I talked. Got these tanks up and moving. That's the tallest one. Little platform. I've got a Lewis gun somewhere, so I'm going to put that on top. And I've got this dart gun as well. Oh, come on. Dart gun. Different pieces. So yeah, got that. There's some spikes. I'm going to do those up. It's all going to be painted white. I'll paint it all metallic first. Most of the stuff around here, and then on top of that I'll put brown, put a dark brown for rust. That's the metallic colour I use beforehand, so it looks like steel if I go through too far. Once I do that brown, I'll put little splatters of that everywhere all over it, including this one too, just for different colour rust. Then I'll seal it with this, and hairspray and salt technique on top of that. And then white for the tanks. I'll just leave the spikes and stuff rusty looking, because that looks good. That ISO there, I'm going to paint the tank yellow. This is the tank. It's not finished, so I'll paint that tank yellow, and it's got a, it'll have a lid on it too, so it can open and shut. Yeah. Petrol drums. Brad's going to have a bridge there, can get onto there, and then I'm going to make a little sort of shanty town little hut thing. Like that. A little hut thing, it's got to have a flamethrower. I made this years ago. It's one of my finest scratch build creations, I think, of all time. I love that thing. Bro's going to be managing that. Got some chains from the door store. Got that cool emblem there, which I'm going to stick on a gate that's going to open and close. And I use those there to, you know, open and close it. Weathering, I could make my own, but it's just easier for me just to sometimes just go down the shop and buy it. And there's all my different kinds of weathering. These here I've got to putty them up as well, so I've got to put putty on them. And on the tanks I'm going to do some graffiti and stuff. So that's just going to be like an emblem for whatever gas company it was before the apocalypse. I'm going to use those as my graffiti. What else? Birch. Oh, using these are all made out of kebab sticks and toothpicks. And styrene, and as you know, heaps of pill bottles. Got to do the pipes yet. I'll show you what glue I have, but it's in the and I'll quickly go through that. That's the glue I use. I use that on everything. Oh, sorry, not that one. This one. Shoe glue. I use it on everything, and it's clear, and it does great stuff. You just got to know how to use it. And there's my putty for puttying it up. What else? I've got a list here of things I'm doing. Sandpaper, that's going to be used for the roads. Yeah, I'll come back with a little bit more. Okay, these are the cans I'm going to use. First off, silver, metal colour. Then I prime it with that. Then go over it with this, dark brown for rust. Then I'm going to do sort of like patches everywhere of just odd paints and stuff. This red here. This orange here. And this copper for the chipping effect and rust. And I'm going to put on the hairspray and the salt. Put that there on the majority of my diorama. Hang on, before I do all that, I put a clear coat to protect it. Then I do that. Hairspray and salt. Then after that, the whites for most of it, yellow for the ISO tanker, a bit of black for stuff, and my graffiti and all my weathering stuff. Lots of cool stuff, powders and stuff. Alrighty. Okay, and here we go, the finished product. It took a lot of hours to do this. More than I'd say probably 80 or something silly like that. But yeah, got it all done, got lights and everything. Hey presto, here we go. Lights. Ooh. So, I'll just show you around it. There's the gate. There's the bro, it's got a flamethrower. I was going to make it a working one with an airbrush, but that'll just be too much hassle. I just had a look around the oil refinery. Get some guards on duty. One little Cook Island princess there. Yeah, so I'm happy with this. Really am. Took me so long. Here's the other side of it. The gate was supposed to slide, but all the wires and stuff got in the way, and yeah, she won't slide. I like that. I got that from the dollar store. The gate kind of slides. It serves its function, you know. Yeah. Spare gun. Cook Island Princess. The bro. Yep, I'm happy with that. Oh well guys, I'll see you around.